Right, a typical day in my workshop. You can see that with work in progress, you end up with quite a lot of stuff hanging around. We're going to talk to you a little bit about materials and safety today. And you can see that today I am not particularly dressed for safety. There may well be things on the floor. There will be things around. I might get my foot trapped as the jack comes down. And if I was to kneel on the floor, my knees not only would get cold because the concrete is cold, but also I may well end up treading on some of the debris that might be littered around the floor. That's obviously not very safe. Not only are my feet getting really cold, it's really uncomfortable to kneel on the ground for a long period of time. And over that time, it will hurt my knees. So I look towards having some materials to improve the standard of my workshop. This is my normal gear when I'm in my workshop. So I've got my nice boots on, I've got knee pads on my trousers, so that when I kneel down, my knees are protected. If I find that my knee pads still aren't sufficiently strong enough, I also have things like this knee pad here, which I can kneel onto. The knee pad I sometimes look at and wonder what material it's made from. It has to be quite squashy, but it has to be resilient enough not to get caught and cut up. And also, it's got to sustain for a long period of time, like the pads that are in my knees here. It's got to be able to bend and flex. And if I take the pad out of the bottom here, or out the top of this one here, take the pad out, you can see the pad is actually made and designed so that it can bend quite easily, but it's also got padding on the actual knee bit where my kneecap usually goes. Likewise, my shoes have got soles that are very difficult to actually puncture. I could tread on a screwdriver or a sharp object, and equally so, if I take my quite large hammer, you can see that I can hit my feet with impunity because I know that inside the toes of my boots I've got steel toe caps. So some materials like the steel that's in my toe caps I know, but other materials like my foam here, I know it's foam, but I don't actually know what material it might be. You should often look at these items sometimes and think and go and research. So that's what we're going to do. Right, so I've gone onto my laptop and I've typed in knee pad material. And if I move just a bit down the page, avoiding Wikipedia, you can see there that padding can be made from various materials. Things like polyurethane foam, polyethylene foam, nylon foam, neoprene. I suspect mine is probably neoprene. But even things like plastic, gel, carbon fibre and other materials are sometimes made from made of knee pads. So I would bear in mind polyethylene foam and perhaps polyurethane foam and possibly neoprene foam as types of foam that you could bear in mind. You might say, why do I need to know that? Here I am doing some design sketches. You can see I've started to design a pair of ear defence for a workman in a workshop such as you've seen me working in mine. And the radio or some sort of Bluetooth speaker can be embedded in the defenders. So not only is the worker avoiding the noise and the damage of the noise, you can actually still listen to the radio and be entertained while you're working. If you're working in a loud environment for a long period of time, you sometimes need that. Now, I would need some sort of padding to go onto the ears, so I've decided to use polyurethane foam rather than just putting padding. It's much better to actually try and include the material. So I've obviously got some sort of digital radio or some sort of Bluetooth device in there, and I would need an aerial which perhaps would need to be flexible so that it could be put into the actual headband of the defenders. But I'm looking really for you to include materials like this polyurethane foam here for specific uses. Your task today, other than always trying to look at items around you and finding what the possible materials they might be made from, and if necessary, researching them on the computer, But your task today is to design a bike helmet, a crash helmet. But the difference is I want you to build some LED lights into them. These could be just for tail light and headlight, but you could also possibly include them for indicators. I'm interested particularly in the annotation. I want you to annotate the design so that you explain the materials are used. I want you to find out what materials they actually use for the padding inside the helmets. I want you to know what materials the bicycle helmet is made from, perhaps what the straps are made from that go under your chin. I'm not really interested in the circuit design, I'm just interested in the look of where the lights might be and how they might go onto it. As usual, we'd like you to send a photograph of your work to either Mr. Dalpuri or Mr. Howell, and the addresses are s.dalpuri or q.howell@cockshutthill.org.uk. Good luck.